the man that gravity forgot became the man that creative forgot is a popular internet joke. By the end of 2015, Adrian Neville, now known as Neville, was on a high after NXT Our Evolution, where he had lost the NXT title to Sami Zayn, and at this point he was now on his way to main rosterville, and I just knew, yeah, that he's. I'm gonna enjoy this as much as I can, but I know it's gonna go away soon. So Neville feuded with Kevin Owens for a bit, kind of had some spectacular matches showing that Adrian Neville is one of the best performers I've ever seen. Sami Zayn beats him, though. One of my favorite guys from NXT. Um, he also would later fight in a it would have a feud with Finn Balor, NXT rival, and I knew, yeah, that would be his final appearance. That's going to be his final match in NXT. But surprisingly, he came back in September to compete in the Tag Team Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic tournament with Solomon Crow, but they lost in the first round to Jason Jordan and Chad Gabriel, or Gable. Now, on March 30th episode of Raw, the night after WrestleMania, they had aired vignettes of Adrian Neville, now shortened to Neville because WWE believes that kids are too stupid to accept long names. Um, I'm still not letting that go on the short name issue. But he made his appearance defeating Curtis Axel, who at the time was popular with his Axelmania gimmick until it ran its course, and then it was starting to become a problem. The following week on Raw, however, like I started thinking like maybe this guy's different. Maybe he's gonna actually succeed on the main roster. He has an involvement with Seth Rollins, and he would be the final guy to receive the curse stomp, I believe. Initially, I had said Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns were, but then I remembered, oh yeah, Neville had a was curb stomped a week after WrestleMania. So Neville then started a somewhat feud with Bad News Barrett at the Extreme Rules pre-show, where he defeated him in his first pay-per-view. I would have been alright if it was on the card, but there's a pre-show, and it wasn't really an Extreme Rules based match, so yeah, I didn't bother that. So heading into April, they had announced heading into late April they had announced the King of the Ring tournament returning, and Adrian Neville would be in the finals after defeating Luke Harper, Sheamus, and then ultimately losing to Bad News Barrett. And that's kind of started a feud for a bit, but I'll get back on that when I talk about what happens later on. So then, like, Neville got even more popular, and then so far that he answered John Cena's U.S. Open challenge, which was won by disqualification after Rusev interfered, because, yeah, so close to a clean victory over Cena. But but John Cena's ego and creative had to say, "Oh no, we can't do that." And this was coming out after a report had broke out saying that Adrian Neville was going to fill the void Daniel Bryan left since he was injured at before Extreme Rules happened. And I was really looking for, oh, is he going to win the Intercontinental Belt and feud with Cena at SummerSlam to unify them? Like that was the original plan for Bryan and Cena to do a rematch at SummerSlam. But Bryan getting injured changed that, as we all know now. So they had an amazing match, finisher kickouts, and all that. Um, but heading into Payback, Neville would continue his war with Barrett, and Neville defeated him again by countout. This is where Neville's talents exploit was starting to be not really exploited as much since they start shortening his matches. But then he had a feud with Dolph Ziggler earlier in his debut, and he had a match with Dolph Ziggler, which was spectacular. I made a video during my early days on here on YouTube, so I explained that was a great match and wished it was the end of the show. But Neville would defeat Barrett again. That would finally end their feud, and I said, finally. However, he would be attacked by Bodal. Well, wait, not Neville defeating Barrett. Barrett defeats Neville, so ending his first feud in a loss. So that sucked. So Neville was encountered by his former NXT rival Bo Dallas, and Bo Dallas and him, like, I know they can work a good match. Like, I seen their ladder match in their previous last match together, so I thought if they're given enough time, then maybe they can pull something out of this. And I knew that definitely wasn't the case because this wasn't NXT. This was a whole different beast. And when it comes to WWE, they're ones to deny everything that looks golden. So they announced on WWE.com that Neville would face Bo Dallas at Elimination Chamber, and knew, yep, this match is going to be short and sweet. And when I mean sweet, I mean bittersweet. So Neville would defeat Bo Dallas at Elimination Chamber, and then again on Monday Night Raw. And initially, there were rumors that Luke Harper and Eric Rowan would get involved and attack Neville and have Bo Dallas join up with his brother Bray Wyatt. That would have been interesting, especially how Bo Dallas' promo the next night after Elimination Chamber was, where he proclaimed that now he just wanted to hurt Neville, which I would have been alright with, even though Bo Dallas doesn't have the beard. So, yeah. So it was also announced Neville would compete in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and then I said, okay, this is going to be interesting. Like, they're allowing Neville to go all out, and especially since Roman Reigns is in there, that means they'll let the match go long, since they need to let Roman Reigns fresh out his skills, sharpen his skills a bit. And then on then on June 8th, prior to Money in the Bank, Neville accepted Kevin Owens' NXT Open Challenge and failed to win it, and it was a great match, but once again, it wasn't as great as their last match together, which was back in NXT, since they were given the time and energy to put in the effort, since in main rosterville, you're given not as much time and not as much emotional caring. And Neville accepted this challenge and favored Kevin Owens over John Cena, so I was glad about that. I kept saying, like, picturing being Neville, let's see, do I want to feud with the guy that will ruin my career and screw me over like every other guy that he's screwed over because of his politics? Or do I take on the guy that's actually humble with his in-ring work and actually does give a care about the progress of fans and stars and gives them what they want? I'm going to go with Kevin Owens. So, yeah. And Neville would fight at the Beast in the East special, but before I get to that, he competed in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and on SmackDown he did a huge aerial maneuver, crashing into the Money in the Bank participants before the pay-per-view would go on a few days later. Neville lost the match. Sheamus won because Bray Wyatt interfered and cost Roman Reigns the match. Would have been interesting, though, had Neville won. I wasn't getting my hopes up, but yeah. So Neville was announced to be competing in the Beast in the East special and would fight Chris Jericho. And I was like, oh, okay, now this is going to be an awesome match. I mean, like, they're on a live show, and they're allowed to do as much time as they want, apparently, because Chris Jericho at least said it. And considering these two are high-flying maneuvers, and their skill set's so similar, I'm expecting one hell of a match. Okay, the match was good, in my opinion, but here's the saddest thing I'm going to say. There's a video on YouTube that was made by WWE. They had someone else on YouTube make this video, and with their action figures using stop motion techniques, and it was Neville versus Chris Jericho with Joey Styles on commentary. That match was more lively than the match in real life. That is sad for me to say. And I'm positive just saying that makes people question their fate in management. Especially me saying that. So, yeah, Neville and Chris Jericho, they had a good match, but it wasn't great as their toy match they had on WWE YouTube. Oh man, that's really pathetic. Like, I watched that video, I was more entertained by that. Oh man. So Neville kind of floundered around for a bit, competed in some matches, tag team matches mostly, and then he went ahead and answered Seth Rollins' open challenge on August 3rd. He did. I don't think he had a match at Battleground. I don't recall, but since I don't remember, it was probably forgettable. So Neville answered Seth Rollins' first ever open challenge for the WWE World Heavyweight title and nearly winning the title when the referee counted a 3 after a red arrow. However, Neville inadvertently placed Rollins' foot on the rope and the match continued. And the pop that he got when it was a moment of, oh my god, Neville won, was amazing. Like, I was really believing, wow, they're actually going forward with this. Like, I can't believe, never mind. I knew they wouldn't be dumb. I knew they wouldn't be smart enough to to light the rod here. So yeah, when it's said that Neville accidentally puts Rollins' foot on the ropes, that proves that there's a problem with Seth Rollins' booking. I mean, like, look at Kevin Owens for example. Like in the match against Dean Ambrose at TLC, he put his 2 fingers on the ropes. Okay, not only is that awesome, it's funny as hell. So, yeah. If Kevin Owens is getting booked better and he's in the mid-card scene right now, then Seth Rollins has failed miserably in this booking problem. So, Neville lost after the match had to continue and was pedigreed. I missed the curb stomp so much. So, then Neville entered a comic book-like feud with Stardust, and because Stardust, this was be the highlight of Neville's 2015. Yeah, and started booking things like the Altitude Era and Neville being portrayed as a superhero, and I was like, oh dear God, I thought for sure that Superman's gimmick was dead. Like, when you come in with a cape and act like a superhero on the main roster, you might as well be called Mighty Mouse. Luckily, they didn't give him a mask. Like that was the original plan. They wanted him to dress up like Mighty Mouse and wear a mask. Are you kidding me, Vince? Do you really hate anyone that's NXT? Did Kevin Dunn give you this idea? Because I'm pretty sure Kevin Dunn is the only one that could give you this kind of idea and you would actually roll with it. Thank God Triple H talked some sense to him before he did something that was career suicide. So, Neville enters his feud with Stardust. It's all comic book-like. Neville mostly got the upper hand in this feud. Stardust was, well, just there. And really, this feud was pointless because Stardust really wanted Stephen Amell, the Green Arrow, to fight, and WWE finally fulfilled their fetish fantasy of getting a Hollywood mainstream star to be on wrestling. Seriously, WCW does it, and WWE wants to copy it. Like, I get if it was Tyson, but okay, I get Stephen Amell does its own stunts, but Tyson's a boxer, and Amell, yes, he does his own stunts, but he's not a wrestler or a boxer. Like I said, Stephen Amell does his own stunts. Respect for that. But why? So yeah, at SummerSlam, Neville teams up with Stephen Amell to defeat Stardust and King Barrett, who later joined in this feud because The Miz was unavailable. Yeah, that's actually true. Like, the original plan was the Miz and Stardust team up against Neville and Stephen Amell. However, Miz had the high priority of facing Big Show and Ryback. Okay, at least the Miz could inspire his Hollywood gimmick into this storyline. That would have made more sense instead of King Barrett. I like they did most of what they could do. But later on, Stephen Amell would leave after this. Like, they were thinking of doing a one-on-one match with Stardust, but I'm glad that never happened. And Neville would continue his feud with Stardust, then he would just disappear afterwards. Yeah. Like, it ended at Night of Champions, I believe, in a pre-show match where Stardust teams up with the Ascension, forming the Cosmic Wasteland during this feud, fulfilling Vince McMahon's comic book fantasies. I am so sad for these guys. So Neville kind of disappears after this, and then at Live Madison Square Garden special event, Neville would later fight Stardust again, and this time he would defeat him. And then he kind of disappeared again and was in mid-card hell for a bit. So then he appeared on the pre-show of Hell in a Cell, teaming up with Dolph Ziggler and Cesaro to defeat Rusev, Sheamus, and King Barrett, who were teaming up with him previously and did kind of a feud with them, but it didn't really materialize afterwards. That was just the end of that. So the next night on Raw, Neville would face a returning Alberto Del Rio, who just recently won the U.S. title in a qualifying match to compete for the number one contender spot in a fatal four-way match to face the World Heavyweight Champion at Survivor Series. And then he would later be losing that match. And especially when you're booked in the way you are, it's hard to really take you seriously. It's like Kevin Dunn and Vince think that just because you're from NXT, that automatically means everyone will take you seriously. But that's not really how we fell in love with these characters and these wrestlers. Yes, they put on a good match, but you're not giving them a story or a story we can enjoy. Like the Stardust feud, like there was a story kind of, but you never really went on it. You just kind of were into it. Then Stephen Amell left, and then you kind of copped out on it, in my opinion. So, yeah, Neville lost that chance to enter the title picture again. So, after that, he enters limbo for a few weeks. Then Seth Rollins suffers a knee injury, and he faced King Barrett again in a quarterfinals match on SmackDown. Neville went on to defeat King Barrett, but eventually was eliminated by Kevin Owens in the semifinals on the 16th episode of Raw of November. Neville, along with Team Goldust, defeated Team Stardust, and yeah, let's just say this. Neville was the only guy eliminated at SummerSlam. At Survivor Series. He was the only guy eliminated at Survivor Series on Team Goldust. Fuck you, Kevin Dunn. So, then afterwards, Neville disappeared and then returned on December 3rd, having a hinting at a heel turn when Miz gave him his card and told him to call him if he wanted to be a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, like he had led to Daniel Bryan to be. And Neville kept the card, so no one knows how this storyline was going to work. Miz admitted to using him so he can learn how to use his British accent. Yeah, that's the story there. Kind of insulting and very stupid because Miz wants to be the next James Bond. And next thing you know, they're going to do a stupid gimmick for Neville where he's going to dress up as a stereotype British person. And Vince, if you even watch this video and you come up with this idea and say it, and then actually go forward with it, I will find you. I will find you, because that is not what Neville deserves. And then Neville kind of got involved in the Intercontinental title scene for like 2 minutes at most. When Neville, controversially, sorry, I don't seem to pronounce it right, controversially, won Slammy Awards Breakout Star of the Year. And I'm thinking, like, okay, despite a number of great matches, what did Neville do exceptionally great to earn Breakout Star of the Year? And sure enough, Kevin Owens came out and just said what I was thinking. Like, there was a reason why people were calling him the man that created forgot, because they just forgot about him and just used him for filler. And that's it. Like, that was Neville's entire year. His highlight was with Stardust and Stephen Amell, and he was really the forefront, and really he was in the second wheel pretty much, since it was really Stephen Amell versus Stardust. But what did he do that earned him Breakout Star of the Year other than fan vote? Like, I'm pretty certain this was Kevin Dunn's egotistical problem with NXT guys. Like, let's see. Do I select it? Do I go ahead and let the fans pick Kevin Owens, who defeated my boy John Cena? Or do I go with Neville, who hasn't done anything but is an NXT guy? Let's see. I'll choose the lesser of two evils. I'll go with Neville in Kevin Dunn's twisted point of view. And then Kevin Owens and Neville had a match, as I explained in the Kevin Owens video. It was only 10 seconds long, and Neville got destroyed because of it. And that's pretty much how his year ended. He was ended being horribly destroyed and mangled. And the feud with The Miz just kind of disappeared. I don't know if they're going back to it for this year, for the next Raw. So, yeah, that was pretty much Neville's year. Filled with so much promise, had some great matches, but ultimately he was just becoming the man that created forgot. And the biggest black eye spot for the year for him was when Booker T had to go ahead by force, because Vince McMahon is a dictator, to say, "Gravity didn't forget Owen." I'm still pissed off on that. And I'm still waiting for Vince to publicly apologize, since he's the one that makes the commentary statements. And Booker T was caught in the crossfire, or at least to how I see it. Vince McMahon pushed him into the line of fire, and Booker T had to suffer for it. So, yeah, Neville became the man that created forgot. I'm hoping he gets better booking for 2016. I'm really hoping he gets better booking. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.